Shalom and welcome back to the Rashi Nash. I'm Pastor Matt.
I'm Kara.
We're glad to be back with you as we're starting a brand new book of the Torah, the book of Chémot, or Exodus. And this is where we meet Moses, the baby Moses. So it's exciting that we're entering this new part of the narrative. But two things I want to bring up that Rashi says this week. Or maybe three. I will say that at the beginning of the book, it's a little bit sad because it says that there arose a king who didn't know Joseph or knew not Joseph. But what Rashi says is it's the same king, but he acts like he doesn't know Joseph. So because of the rising pressure of the population growth of the Israelites and, Pharaoh and his advisors wanting to do something about that, he kind of forgets all the wonderful things that Joseph did, and he goes against Joseph's people. It's sad. But unfortunately, sometimes when someone passes away, things change. But as we get into the story of Moses, there are two things that I want to bring up, and they're both about the midwives. Now, the first thing that I want to say is, Rashi says that the women of Israel didn't particularly need midwives themselves, that they were super strong and they just had their babies and they didn't need any assistance with that. That's pretty remarkable, I think. That's pretty strong. In fact, it even says, I hesitate to say the words that it uses because I don't want it to sound insulting, but this is just what it says. Here's what Rashi says, that the women of Israel were expert midwives at delivering babies, but they did not need midwives themselves because they are compared to, the Israelite women, the beasts of the field who do not need midwives. It sounds weird to say, but animals don't usually need assistance in giving birth. So anyway, take that as you will. But the thing that I wanted to point out is that we're actually given the name of the midwives, the names of the two Hebrew midwives. Did you ever watch that show, Undercover Boss? Mm-hmm. So sometimes people have like a secret identity, or maybe, like James Bond or something, a spy. These midwives have a secret identity. It says here in verse 15 of chapter 1, the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of the first was Shiphrah, and the name of the second was Puah. And he said, in your assisting the Hebrew women at childbirth, when you see on the birth stool, if it is a son, you are to kill him. If it is a daughter, she shall live. Now this, of course, is horrible. This is a horrendous death sentence for the little boy babies of the Israelites. But here's what Rashi says. Shiphrah. Shiphrah is a word in Hebrew that means lovely or beautiful. And it says, this is Yocheved, the mother of Moses. She's called Shiphrah because she beautifies the child at birth. It's pretty cool. And then Puah, this is Miriam, Moses' sister. She is called Puah because she cries, speaks, and coos to the child in the manner of women to soothe a crying baby. The word Puah can mean in certain languages like, like little girl or someone who's precious or something like that. So I find it interesting that we find out these midwives are actually Moses' mother and sister. And I kind of feel like this is God's divine plan to put them in charge of helping birth the babies, because then they can disobey Pharaoh's command. I think sometimes we might be in a job or a position or a place of responsibility, and we might not even know to the extent that God is going to use that. I think that God puts us in positions sometimes that maybe even later we realize, oh wow, I played a part in God's plan. I was thinking about this particular thing when I was thinking back to you managing a couple of businesses. I was thinking, especially you just a few years ago managed an ice cream store where you employed a lot of young people.
More than a few years ago.
Maybe more than a few years ago, but we're so young.
Oh, yeah.
We're so, it seems just like yesterday. I really think God put you in a position to help these young people with their lives and to get through situations. And it wasn't just a job for you. I almost feel like if someone's following the Lord, their job isn't just a vocation, it's like a mission. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I feel like no matter where you're placed, there's always an opportunity to be involved in the lives of the people that are around you, whether they're employees or coworkers or even just, the relationships that you have. Sometimes he puts people together because he wants you to be able to speak into their life in some way, whether it's actually like physically helping them with something or whether it's just literally just being there for them and showing them God's love just through your everyday life, So there's always, I feel like, opportunity to do that. And you never know, someone that might just help them that day, but for some of those people, it may be something that lasts in their life for a very long time.
Absolutely. Just recently, we were at a restaurant, and a young man that you had as a student years ago, because after you were the manager of this ice cream place, you became a school teacher. And this young man was very grateful for you being his teacher. And I think, just like these midwives, I think God puts us in a position to have influence on what happens and to use God's wisdom in those situations on how to help people in their lives. And we might not even know the impact that we have until much later. Because this young man, I say young man, I mean, he's an adult now, he's married, and it was really cool to see him. But I really agree. So would you say that that if somebody's following God's plan for their life, they're a Messianic believer, they're a Christian, they're in a certain spot, do you think we should automatically look at our jobs as a mission field where we can be an influence to others? Absolutely.
Because you just never know. And it might be sometimes that we're even in situations that we just don't even understand. Like, we're not even enjoying necessarily the place that we're at or the position we're put in. But in the back of our minds, we should be remembering, okay, well, God has a plan. And if he has me here right now for this moment, what does he want from me? What can I do? What's in it? So I think it's always smart to just be on the lookout for how you can affect the situation, or to be willing and ready at a beckon's moment to jump in and do what God, stirs your heart to do, because you just never know.
Right. I think that's well said. The last thing that I want to bring up is when we look at one of these midwives actually being Moses' mother, it puts a different spin on the story when she's having to assist these Israelite women in basically hiding their children, their male children. That's one thing. But then when she has a baby herself, it's a different thing when she's got to protect her own child. And then you see with Miriam, I mean, her being, a young girl, her having to protect her little brother, her baby brother. And how wonderful is it, as we go further in the story, that when Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses and Miriam says, "Would you like me to find one of the Hebrew women to nurse him?" And then Moses' own mom gets paid to nurse her own child. That's
God.
It's really a God thing. It really is. And I think when we look at scriptures like, the steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord, I think we need to not take that lightly. We're not just in a job to earn a paycheck, and we're not just at certain places, certain spheres of influence in our life to either earn a paycheck or to take advantage of it. If you go to a certain gym or a certain restaurant or whatever, it's not just because you're taking advantage of the services that place has. It's because you're supposed to be some sort of influence there. We should always, I think, leave a place better than we found it. And I think that's good advice for all of us. So, Shifra and Puah, the secret identities of Yocheved and Miriam. Maybe you are on a secret mission. Maybe you are to go into the places where you have some influence, and you are supposed to do God's work and to protect the people around you, even against people who might want to do them harm, like Pharaoh did here. So you're on a mission, and we believe in your ability to fulfill that mission. We want to thank you for joining us once again this week, and you can join us every week here for the Rashi Nash. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, and share this video on your social media so that as many people as possible can be blessed by it. Shalom and Kol Tuv.